How's it going, everybody? Emmett Ferguson here, and we're going to be talking about underthinking versus overthinking. Why most people are. I'm gonna put out a good debate for this, but why most people are, when they think that they're overthinking, they're actually underthinking, and it's based on a concepts from this book right here. It's called "Thinking Fast and Slow" by Daniel Kahneman, which is winner of the Nobel Prize in economics. You can't beat that. A Nobel Prize winner. All the research is done in here. And Daniel Kahneman, he's obviously he's a scholar of economics, the way you're thinking. As he wrote an entire book on it, he's done all the research, and there's a ton of great examples in this book. This book basically, in a gist, the book talks a lot about the system one and system two of thinking. And if you want to summarize this, just to simplify, what is system one and system two? This concept has been developed by many people. It's like almost not exactly, but like the conscious mind and then the unconscious mind. There's two types of thinking within your head. There's that the reptile brain, which just acts and goes really quickly, and then there's like the analytical brain. Now, I would say that it's not so much the unconscious mind versus the conscious mind. It's more like the conscious mind has two types of minds, and one of them reacts quicker and one of them reacts slower. So the whole concept of thinking fast and slow is basically, there's the reactive mind, or system one, the reptile brain. You got this mind that just responds instantly. It helps you fight or flight. It helps you, come up with witty responses if that's like part of it, if that's your part of your habits. It just instant response that helps you do things that are necessary for, performance. You don't have to think about it. But here's where people tend to mess up. Now, Daniel Kahneman argues in a lot of examples. If you, I think one of the examples is simple math problems, where one of the examples is, I think, like, if there's a dollar, if you buy something for $1.10, and then you buy another item that's $1 more, how much is it? Or 97, or $1 more, how much is it? Or 90 cents more or something. And then most people, like, it's like one of those problems where if you think about it just another step, you get the right answer. But your automatic response, if you go to that and you don't think the problem through, you come up with the wrong answer. That wasn't exactly. I'm gonna have to pull that up right now. See, I see an example right now. A bat and a ball cost $1.10 in total. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost? So, questions like that, if you think about it and you just use the first notice, you might say, oh, well, the bat costs, I'm pulling this off of researchworld.com, you would say, oh, the bat costs $1 and the ball costs 10 cents, but you combine that, that's $1.20. So that's really not the case, right? So just thinking about how that mind responds, just thinking that extra step further is ultimately what this book is about. And there are so many areas that our system one mind basically impacts our decision making and our problem solving ability and all of that. And here's where the whole concept of, and this has relations to spending money, to buying things, to making deals, to understanding people and their reactions, to learning more about people and influence and even persuasion. So thinking about this book, the whole concept of this video, I think, and what I really took away is some people think that they're overthinking things. And this is a big concept in even the personal development science, in the sense that what you do when you're overthinking, you respond basically based on your very first initial fear of something, right? So let's go into this. Let's say system one, your system one, you hear some, let's take a common example. In a relationship, someone doesn't respond to you. Someone new in a relationship, they don't respond to your text right away. Maybe it takes them a couple hours. Now, the mind instantly responds like, "Oh, what is this person doing? Are they out with somebody else? Are they okay? Are they stuck at work? What can I do?" You might have all sorts of thoughts like that. I mean, depending on your experience in relationships and how you are. And I'm not saying whether either way is justified or not, but this isn't a relationship thing. But just bear with me, where most people think that is overthinking, right? That is the overthinking what could possibly be wrong. But my argument right now, just for the sake of debate, is that is the system one mind, that first mind that comes in, and then everything that piles on top of that, right? So that is the initial fight or flight response, that fear response, that what could possibly be wrong response, that exciting that moment of excitement, and then all of those responses that are triggered. And I don't like the term triggered because it suggests like being triggered and snowflakes and all that, but I use that like in a sense that it sets off like a chain reaction of all of these other reactions, right? Just real quick reactions, just spur of the moment, like we don't even think about it, just all these thoughts start flowing in, and that's system one. That's thinking too fast. Now, take another example of that same person who has been in maybe a couple of relationships. They're pretty experienced. They realize that sometimes people get busy and they can't respond to your texts, or maybe they're busy themselves. Then in that situation, that person might think, instead of just reacting, instead of just letting the reptile brain take over and thinking that something's wrong and having that cascade of like possibly negative situations, they think, "Oh, okay," they maybe they might have that reaction, but they're still able to question it. They take that extra second, that extra thought of, okay, why am I feeling this way? Is it envy? Is it jealousy? Is there a real reason to be scared? Does this person always respond within an hour? And then does this person always respond within an hour? And then suddenly, it's been 2 days, So thinking about the way you respond, that's why I would say, just based on reading this book, I think most people, whenever they start to overthink things, what they think is overthinking is really just a bunch of quick spurts of underthinking. Just a couple of quick spurts of letting that fear, that fight or flight take over, that what could be wrong, this is the worst thing that can happen, that scary situation, letting your emotions take over really quickly, and letting your emotions take over, and then it just a cascade of like negative thoughts, negative ideas, what could be wrong, or like, and this could go the opposite way too. If a really good thing happens, you start to like overthink, like, what do I do next? What's gonna happen next? Or let's take for example, someone, you start to go on a roll, right? Or you start to. I think this works best with possibly negative situations because most people. I think most people try to tend toward that. But I guess this could be the opposite in terms of optimism too. Like if you're too optimistic and you go into a casino, and you start to like change the way you play, or and I'm not saying gambling is anything like investing, but if you start investing and then you start to like win, and then you start to like change up your strategy, and you go away from your strategy, that's when things can quickly go wrong. When you get optimistic, you think you learn something else as opposed to sticking with one strategy consistently. So those are situations where that I would say that I would argue that system one is just responding, that reptile brain is responding, and it creates more responses. And you might overthink what's happening. It might feel like overthinking because you have all these reactions and you have all these responses like quickly, 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 and it's a lot of thoughts and ideas flowing through your mind. But those are those instantaneous responses that have not taken that second step of thinking it through. And why that's why instead of just letting those reactions, that system one, take over and create a cascade of problem situations, potential problems. One way of handling that is to think about that thought just a second. Don't let the reaction take over, but take a second to overthink that thought. To use that system two, that analysis, that conscious thought mind to review that thought that came from the reptile brain, right? To review that fight or flight idea. So next time, you're going into your boss's office, or there's a cop driving behind you. You always for me personally, I usually am driving pretty safely, defensive driving and all that. And, no matter what, if a cop's driving behind me, I'm like, oh, am I doing something wrong? And most people, I think a lot of people think like that, even if they've never done anything wrong. I'm sure there's a term for it, but I think that is the system one mind talking. And then when you question that system one talking, that when you use system two to question that system one, that's where you should be overthinking that extra bit. Thinking about why you're feeling that fear, that concern, or whatever, and then realize that it's that if you're just reacting to it, if you're just reacting to that, and then that cascade of negative thoughts or whatever is happening, that's underthinking. That's just reacting, right? But if you're going in your boss's office and you're feeling scared, that's just reacting to it. But if you start to think, okay, why am I reacting this way? Could I have been performing better? Could I, does he or she always call people in for negative things? Or, is there room for promotion or something, right? So, and there's more to it, like what's usually on your mind, right? Like the thoughts that are constantly on your mind are going to be the thoughts that, or how you react, your natural habit, your natural inclination. And I think, a lot of people have a natural inclination towards the negative, which is, just, it's a reaction. But there's so much value out of this book. That was my takeaway from this. For anybody else, if you're reading this book, you get some economic ideas of how to effectively manage your spending. If you're in business, if you're in economics, if you're in science, if you're in research, if you're in a field that deals with people and social interactions, this could be an amazing book for you. You get to learn so much, and it helps you in so many ways. It's well written. It's not a boring read, despite being a lot of research, and it's incredibly interesting. But and for me, just that takeaway that was so powerful of realizing that maybe underthinking is not the problem. Maybe it's just misinterpreted because it seems like it's overthinking because it's so many different thoughts, but it's all reactions to that system one, that quick reptile brain fight or flight response. Whereas if you just take that extra step, that extra second, that extra moment to not think about the situation, but examine your thought and examine the situation from alternative view, and to question it and to analyze it, that's where that system two comes in handy. And that's where overthinking, just thinking, maybe not overthinking, but just thinking that extra step further in is going to be so valuable to many people. So with that is Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, like a lesson learned, and this is an amazing book. I gotta say, it's recommended by so many people. It won a Nobel Prize for a reason. Great for anybody in business who wants to learn more about people, who wants to learn about persuasion, self-management, better habits, better thinking habits, how to think more effectively, how to think fast and slow. And it doesn't mean like either system one or system two is better than the other. They both serve a purpose, but for many situations, understanding them can give you just that extra edge in life. So, with that, check out the book, Thinking Fast and Slow. There's a link in the description below. It goes to Amazon. Absolutely fantastic book. It's on a lot of well known reading lists and everything. So, check that out. Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. It's fun read. You'll get through it at some point. And despite it being, scholarly, very educated person, writing transforming a somewhat complex topic and giving tons and tons of examples, real world examples about it, you're going to get a lot out of it, and you're going to start to evaluate yourself and even your life in different ways, in very positive ways. So with that, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I wish you the best.